Thank you for joining us tonight on What Does the Bible Say, live September 1st from Reedsville, North Carolina. What do you think is coming tonight? What do you expect from us? I look at the internet, I see information that's put out by different people and different religious groups, and I just get so sick of all the canned presentation, where we're overly enthusiastic and you can just tell that it's fake. But I also get tired of just the meaningless verbiage that goes on. I mean, we just constantly talk about the same old stuff. We don't dive into the real problems. We don't ask why. We don't question certain behaviors. We don't look at the world and say, how are we going to fix this? It's always the same old junk, but not tonight. Tonight, we're actually covering material that was gotten today, fresh, new discussion with St. Joseph Catholic Church in Martinsville, Virginia, right off of Spruce Street. Little Catholic church. They're the only one in town. They're kind of back off in the woods. They got a big, long driveway. You kind of really wouldn't know it was there unless you're local and you've been paying attention. But they're just kind of secluded. And not only are they very secluded, but they don't want to talk to people. And that's what I don't get. Why do you not want to talk to the outsiders? How in the world do you think, Catholics, I hope that nobody does join the Catholic Church, but I'm saying, how do the Catholics think they're going to win people? Getting right into it, these are the men that we had talked about before. There's Mark White, who used to be the priest over at St. Joseph Catholic Church, but a very strange thing, very peculiar. We go and talk to Mark White. We sit down and have a, kind of a Bible study with him. We're discussing the Bible. We're discussing denominations, how we're going to fix things. And like a week or two later, Mark White is gone, leaves town, and they get a new priest, and his name is Nicholas Mammy. But after talking to Mark White, they don't want us to talk to Nicholas Mammy. I try to go back, and they asked me to leave. Now tonight, let me talk to my brethren real quick. I talked to the Catholic Church today, and when I left, saying I felt horrible was an understatement, because I was only in there for like 30 seconds. The conversation didn't go very far. They weren't willing to give anything, and it's just like, what is wrong with people that they will just be so close-minded? But now let me encourage my brethren. This is my release, because I actually get a chance and opportunity to expose it to the whole 2 states area, and you could do the same in your area by using local TV, free public access TV. The opportunities are out there. You just have to look for them. Now, if you're a preacher and you basically feel fed up with preaching, and I'm not saying just preaching, I'm saying evangelism, and most preachers don't do it. But if you want to actually have an output, have an outlet, this is it. And don't get on AM radio, because nobody's listening to AM radio. You need to get on public TV so that people can see you, and also you need to make your TV show live, or else it's going to flop. Nobody wants to hear your sermon. They want to be able to ask you questions. They want to be able to see new live material. And tonight, that's exactly what we're giving you. Nicholas Mammy, Mark White, priests at the Catholic Church. Now, I've got some brethren that don't like that we record people. They say, why you got to do it? It makes people upset, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Look at all the stuff that's in the Bible, bad behavior in the Bible that's recorded for me so that I can learn from it. Now, there are private meetings. You look at Acts chapter 15, they have a private meeting in Acts 15, but somehow it ends up getting exposed to us. The Holy Spirit wanted private matters to be exposed. Well, that's what we do in the Martinsville, Virginia area. And this is why I record people, because denominations, they call back in and they talk trash about you. Listen to this phone call from a member at St. Joseph Catholic Church in Martinsville, Virginia. He calls into the Buzz to talk to Charles Rourke. Listen to this.
And it's really hard, so.
Right, you say homeless.
I was watching it.
Yep. All right, man, thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, you on the air.
I just wanted to talk to you about Johnny.
Yeah.
Was just on there.
Yes.
He said that his son came to the Catholic Church, and I'm Catholic,
right,
and was barred after that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he came twice, and twice he had recording equipment with him.
Right.
And didn't tell anybody he was recording.
But, I mean, you see those cats, you know they're recording.
Yeah, but he was like all nice and everything and saying hi to everybody.
Right.
Before the midday mass.
Right.
And then,
why not just be nice back?
well, we were nice back to him.
Right.
But then we found out he's recording all this stuff. And he interviewed the priest at the time, and Mark White, and he was nice to him, but then we found out he was recording stuff, and that's when we got all the stuff against him, and not to record or have any devices in there.
Well, yeah. The thing I mean, people record me all the time.
I know.
If I had somebody, I was eating at Wendy's the other day, and they were recording me from across the room. And it didn't bother me. I mean, I said it's kind of,
he uses it in his sermons and stuff, and
right,
to pull stuff out to say that they're wrong about this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
And we were just, one of the parishioners even talked to him.
But but the thing that really kind of amazes me is, why does that bother people? I mean, people taking clips out of my show and made KKK videos.
Well, it's
but I realize that I'm a public figure. I'm in the public's eye. I have to live with that. But it really doesn't bother me. I get a kick out of it. But I'm telling you, the best way to deal with these kind of situations is welcome them in and give them a seat. And say,
we did.
Yeah, I would say, and give them a recording corner. And just say, look, man, you can record anything you want. I mean, really, it's like, because all they're gonna do is put the clip on and say we don't agree with this, and then you might make a deal with them. You can say, well, give our address at least if you're gonna talk about us.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. That's the way I deal with things.
There's only one Catholic church here, so.
Right. And then
there's only one Catholic church here, and we're scared to death of the public. Now go back. I'm going to go back and listen to what he says about. See, nobody's there, and the Catholic Church gets to paint this picture to describe it. Listen to this.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk to you about Johnny.
Yeah.
Was just on there.
Yes.
He said that his son came to the Catholic Church, and I'm Catholic.
Right.
And was barred after that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he came twice, and twice he had recording equipment with him.
Right.
Twice he had recording equipment with him. Now, what do you think that I have? Like a big lighting system and one of those boom microphones and a big shoulder camera, and I'm busting in the middle of their service into their Catholic mass where they're praying in Latin. Who in there speaks Latin for me to even interrupt that stuff? No. This is my recording device. Oh, he's got a cell phone. Watch out. He's coming in disrupting everything with his cell phone. No. And honestly, they usually don't even see my phone. I wasn't even recording with my phone that day I came in. Micah was. And just a lot of times you can't even see Micah's phone. Look at how small this thing is. He came in here with all kinds of recording equipment. Okay, but keep listening.
And didn't tell anybody he was recording.
I don't have to. I don't have to tell you that I'm recording. Members of the Church of Christ, get on the internet and find your code law for recording. I carry this around with me. This is Virginia State Code Law on interception, disclosure, wire, electronic, oral communications, unlawful penalties, and exceptions. Look, I got you. We're a one-party state. As long as I know, that's okay. I'm not asking your permission. I'm not giving you a heads up. Just behave yourself. You're going to be recorded. Now, also on top of that, I'm talking to my brethren, quit being just stupid, lazy. Just print a piece of paper out that says, I have the right to record you. And then get a second piece of paper. Look how small it is. I didn't have to print out the whole thing. I cut off the bottom portion. This is what it means to trespass upon church or school property. Any person who, without the consent of some person authorized to give such consent, goes or enters in the nighttime the premises or property of any church upon any school property for any purpose other than to attend a meeting, which is what we do, or service held or conducted in such church or school property shall be guilty of Class 3 misdemeanor. Give me a break. Public revival, everybody welcome. And when we show up with our big recording devices, now we're trespassing. Please, St. Joseph Catholic.
I mean, you see those cats, you know they're recorded.
Yeah, but he was like all nice and everything and saying hi to everybody.
Right.
Before the...
What's wrong with that? He was all nice to everybody. Hey, if y'all are going to let me come in, I'm happy to be there. I'm looking forward to talking Bible with you. You know, I'm going to sit through your mass. I'm not going to make a peep. Quiet as a Catholic church mouse. I'm not going to be busting up anything. They didn't serve me communion. That's fine. I'm not going to drink real wine with them. They're not in a state to take communion with the Lord on a Thursday, after all. They don't even have the day correct. Now, you hear this? Come on now. Catholic Church, what are they so afraid of? Why is it so bad that I brought all my recording equipment, which is a phone, and they're upset about that? Well, the reason is because I just flat out made them look bad. Look at this.
So I know that Christ is on judgment based on the gospel. Now, if I know that the Baptist denomination is not following what the gospel teaches, they're teaching contrary, but I know how Christ is on judgment, and he's going to send them to hell.
God bless you. I mean, that's more than I know.
I think that's more than you're willing to go with. I think you can read that in your mind. I know you're not stupid. I mean, this isn't just something that I figured out with my brain. The Bible says in Ephesians chapter 3 that when we read, we can understand. There's just all the politics that goes on. So you can't, you know there's political correctness in religion.
Oh, of course.
And it kills us. Sure, no, I agree with you. I mean, Catholics used to be known for being the most staunch in their beliefs. And now you won't even say that somebody's going to hell. So political correctness is taking its toll.
Well, the Catholic Church is more something.
Catholic Church has never said that. That's why he called into the buzz to talk about, you know, he came in with his recording equipment. Y'all, he said all that because I made Mark White look horrible. Here's their priest, and the Catholics say that the priest over the church is a direct direct line from God to the congregation. And guess what? I'm tripping him up. Now, in that, again, recording equipment, I wasn't recording. You're seeing a view over my shoulder. Micah is recording. Micah was there with me, and we don't always record when we go places. Me and Micah have been going to a Baptist study for months, and we haven't recorded them one time. We just go in the morning, we study with them. We make comments. We hear what they're saying, but we're not recording them. We have the option to, but we just haven't done it. That's not what we're just interested in doing. But I am wanting to record Mark White. Why? Because he's the only Catholic official in town. Now, the reason I went to him was back when Supreme Court was ruling on homosexual marriage, and I was asking him, are you against homosexual marriage? He said, yeah, we're against homosexual marriage. And I said, what about adultery? And then it wasn't as clear anymore. And I said, y'all got any adulterers in here? He said, that's none of your business. And I said, well, you just answered my question then. Y'all do. But keep listening to this. Why? Now, I'm saying they call in, they talk about me coming in with my recording equipment, and when I go back today, this is what I'm greeted with.
Now, my name is Caleb Robertson, and I'm with the Church of Christ.
Oh, you guys aren't supposed to be here.
And so that's what I want to talk to Nicholas Mamie about is
You
why.
have nothing to do that with that.
But,
You're not supposed to be here.
and I'm not, because I've actually already talked to the police, and they took a restraining order out against Johnny Robertson.
Right, but it was everybody for the entire church.
No, that's not what the police said, though.
Okay, well, you're not. He's not here,
Okay.
one, and number two, we're not gonna let you talk to him. So we're not gonna put him in that position where you're, I'm sure, videotaping us right now.
So when I go in, I don't get to talk to the priest. I have to talk to the bookkeeper. What? In what world does the bookkeeper get to tell me that I can't talk to the priest? We've got this big, mighty man of God who wears his big robe and he's got his white collar on, but we're not going to let him talk to Caleb Robertson, who's only 22 years old. Why? I'm not claiming to be direct line from God. I'm not saying that I've got inspiration. I'm saying I know the Bible, and the Catholic Church isn't in there. The Pope isn't in there. Sprinkling babies isn't in there. The idea that the blood turns into literal blood once I put it in my mouth, and the bread turns into the body of Christ. That's what they call the Eucharist. That stuff is not in here. They've got parts in the Catholic Church where they say that oral tradition passed down from the Pope to the priest and so on, generation after generation, is just as important as what is written for us. And that's a lie. Oral tradition is not a thing. There's only the written, inspired Word of God. And all this oral tradition nonsense is basically how they get to keep sprinkling babies. Well, that's oral tradition. That's part of it. And well, you can't find it in the Bible. That's because it's oral tradition. Now, see how they get to do that? Hey, I can come up with anything I want to do and call it oral tradition. Why not? We're not going to let you talk to him. We're not going to put him in that position with you. Well, what position? The position Mark White was in, where he gets made to look really bad.
But no, I mean, you know, if we on TV and talking about it, there's teachings about where there's apparently no relationship between commitment to Christ and the way you live your life. I mean, that is scandalous and keeps people away from the faith. I can see why you would say that. I could hardly disagree with you. I mean,
When you say to teach, I mean, that's a false doctrine, what they always say.
yeah, no, we agree with that.
And so does not teaching false doctrine, Galatians 1, chapter 1, verse 9. As we said before, so say now again, if any man preach any other gospel to you than that ye have received, let him be accursed. Are they not going to be accursed for teaching false doctrine?
I mean, if you would apply that verse to that case,
How would you apply it? How else would you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain to my job. It does not pertain to my job. I would not, it does not.
How else would you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain.
How else would you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain.
Do you apply it? How else would you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain. Apply that verse to that case.
How would you apply it? How else would you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain to my job description.
Why is that so hard? I'm talking about with him Galatians chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, about people that teach false doctrine. Now, what really is so difficult to realize that if you're teaching something that is not in accordance with the Bible, then you have problems with your salvation. But though we are an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you than that which ye have preached unto you, let him be accursed. And we say before, so now I again. If any man preach any other gospel unto you that ye have received, let him be accursed. So if somebody's teaching once saved, always saved, what is going to be the consequence? Because in the same letter, look at this. Galatians chapter 5, verse 4, Christ has become of none effect unto you, whosoever are justified by the law, ye are fallen from grace. So look, I mean, it's possible you can fall from grace. Once saved, always saved is not a true doctrine. But Matt White just stumbles all over himself to say, well, if you want to apply that to people that are teaching false doctrine, then that's fine. There are a whole host of things that you can apply that to, which is why the epistles are written. The epistles are written, 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Look at this. Be ye followers of me, even I also am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them unto you. Now what's one of the things he talks about in 1 Corinthians 11? Keeping the Lord's Supper correctly. Look at verse 17. Now in this that I declare unto you, I praise you not, that ye come together not for the better, but for the worse. So he's even saying here, I acknowledge the fact that you all are gathering on the first day of the week. He said, but in doing so, because you mess up the Lord's Supper, it's pointless. For first of all, when you come together in the church, I hear that there be divisions among you, and I partly believe it. Paul is saying there should not be divisions among the church, but today we basically celebrate our diversity. What does our diversity mean? That means we don't have any sense about the Bible. I can't figure out context about what's being said. I don't want to actually tell my neighbor over here that he's teaching something that's incorrect. Just correct them. Timmy, what's 2 plus 2? 6. Oh, well, I don't want to correct Timmy. No, you tell him it's 4. Anything. When you go down to the Quick Lube, Jiffy Lube, and they say, what type of oil you want in it? Well, just whatever you feel like putting in there. That'll be fine with me. That's not how we treat anything in life. I mean, either it's correct or it's not. That's just plain and simple. So when we look at this, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, he says there must also be heresies among you, that they which are approved may be manifest among you. What's he saying? Heresy simply means a choosing. Now, if I compare 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 19 to Joshua 24:15, this is what we get. This is what a heresy is. If it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So look what happens. 1 Corinthians 11, verse 18, Paul says the same thing. There needs to be a choosing today of which way you're going to go. Either you're going to do the Lord's Supper correctly, or you're going to turn it into a common meal, which is what they did. For there must also be heresies among you, verse 19, which are approved may be manifest among you. When ye come together therefore in one place, this is not to eat the Lord's Supper. For in eating everyone taketh before other his own supper, and one is hungry and another is drunken. Have ye not houses to eat and to drink in? Or despise ye the church of God, and shame them that have not? What shall I say to you? Shall I praise you in this? I praise you not. For I have received of the Lord that which also delivered unto me, that the Lord Jesus, in the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. Now, here's where the Catholics start messing up. Number one, this is not going to be on a Thursday. And then look at what he says in verse 24. They say when you take the bread and put it in your mouth, they say this is the literal flesh of Jesus Christ. But when he says here, take, eat, this is my body, what was it for them? Okay, did they put the bread in their mouths? And then while Jesus was alive and in the flesh with them, it turned into the flesh that was still intact on his bones? Come on. He says right here to the people, while he's still in bodily form, this is my body. Well, his body is still intact. He hasn't been crucified. He hadn't been buried. He's just full, compact, all-in-one package flesh. So how is it that they're eating his flesh? It's a representation. He's saying, this represents my body. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. Now, let's think about this. Catholics and their oral tradition. Why do they come up with oral tradition? Because you can't find anywhere in the Bible where it says you're eating the literal body of Christ. Now, we just asked the question, what did it mean for them when he said, this is my body, and he's in the flesh with them? So then the Catholics just make up something. They say, well, this is oral tradition, that it turns into the body when it's in your mouth, that it turns into literal blood when it's in your mouth. After this manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament of my blood. This do ye as often as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore, whatsoever you shall eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death. And I got down to verse 27. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread, drink this cup of the Lord unworthily, shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of that cup. Well, is he eating bread or is he eating the body? See, we had just about 30 minutes with Mark White, and it just was the same stuff over and over.
Okay, I would not, it does not pertain to my job description to apply it. I would not, it does not pertain to my job description to apply.
Now, Mark White is not in Martinsville anymore. Now, could it be the case that we actually recorded Mark, put it on TV, made them look so bad that he left? Could that be possible? I don't know. They won't ever let me come in and ask them, why did Mark White leave town? Well, look at this.
Because it's just not.
I don't understand, Mr. White, why? Did you say Reverend? I don't know.
Now let's think about this. I want you to hear what he says, and then we're going to come back again.
Mr. White, why? Did you say Reverend? Okay. Psalm 111, verse 9 says that only God is Reverend. That's the only time you see the word Reverend.
Now think about this. I'm 22 years old. I wasn't 22 back then. I'm a young guy. I'm clean cut. And I'm trying to be respectful. And I say, well, Mr. White, this is what I don't understand. And this dude in there says, Reverend White. This guy can't even figure out Galatians chapter 1, verse 8. And you expect me to call him Reverend? I don't think so. And when I said the same thing to the secretary, Mr. White, she says, you mean Father White? That guy is not my father. He's not my reverend. He just really doesn't even seem to be like a Bible scholar either. Psalm 111, verse 9. He sent redemption unto his people. He hath commanded his covenant forever. Holy and reverend is his name. That applies to God. You do not see reverend applying to a Catholic priest or some young person who's a preacher. Now, then he also, about the Father. Matthew chapter 23, verse 9, and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. I'm not calling this guy who stumbles all over himself to answer Galatians chapter 1, verse 8, and he still doesn't answer it. I'm not calling him reverend. He has no reason to be called reverend.
It does not pertain to my judgment.
You apply it. How do you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain to
You apply it. How do you apply it?
I would not, it does not pertain to my judgment.
Why in the world would we call him Father? Do you realize that in this time, but be not ye called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. How is he going to teach anybody? Rabbi? Teacher? This man could not teach anything. The time that I went to Mass, you know what he was talking about? I sat through Mass, I don't remember how long ago or how long it lasted, but he was talking about the martyred saints in China and how they the martyred saints in China. And he kept talking about Ho Shuang, and it's like, who are these people? You know, I've never heard of these people in history, and they're not in the Bible. They weren't, if they're Catholic, they weren't trying to defend the Bible, because again, the Catholic Church isn't in there. Eucharist isn't in there. The Pope isn't in there. Infant baptism isn't in there. Purgatory isn't in there. What do they have right? That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to call him reverend. I'm not going to call him father. Why is it that when they say he came in all nice, but he had his recording equipment and that just was too much? This is why they don't want me to talk to Nicholas Mammy. Who is Nicholas Mammy? He's the priest that they have right now. Mark White left town. They got Nicholas Mammy in. Miss Pat, who's the bookkeeper, says you're not going to talk to him. We're not going to put him in that type of situation. Now look at this. One more. Or I've got two more. I want to show you what this guy said. I can't remember his name, Bill or Bob.
Christ coined on the cross for what? To die for the sins of the world. Now what do you have to do? Mercy. What do you have to do after he's crucified? That's not what we're talking about. Yes, it is. That's repentance. So what do you have to do? It's mercy. There's still mercy there. God is a merciful God. Did you not say that? Does everybody get mercy then? Everybody. But everybody's judged accordingly. So even the people that go to hell are going to have mercy. Somewhat, yeah. How? He judges mercifully. Tell me how you can be in hell and have mercy from God. There's degrees of hell. And not everybody suffers the same. That's
Seriously? Tell me how I'm going to be burning in the fires of hell, Mark chapter 9, verse 41. And here's Bill over at St. Joseph Catholic Church talking to me about having mercy in hell. Now look at this. Verse 46 of Mark chapter 9. Where the worm dieth not and the fire is not quenched. Matthew chapter 25. Verse 45, then shall he answer them, saying, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not unto me, and these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Now, how is it the case that he says over here, but man, I'm still going to get mercy while I'm burning in hell for all of eternity? I can't escape. I got some family members on the other side there in heaven, but oh, God's mercy while I'm in hell. What are y'all talking about? That's why they say we're not talking to you. But here's the thing. It gets worse. I'm saying, y'all, can we not just look at this and think about, look at Galatians chapter 2. You got Peter, who's a Jew. And he's saying, he basically is acknowledging that salvation has come to Jew and Gentile alike. But then, because of peer pressure, he then starts acting like a Jew, and he says he separates himself from the Gentiles. But look at what Paul says. But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before them all, if thou, being a Jew, livest after the manner of the Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as do the Jews? Now look at this. He's saying, if you're saying Gentiles can be saved without the law of Moses, then why do you still compel them to live like a Jew? Now today, all we're doing is saying that the Bible does not teach Catholicism, so why are these people trying to bring other people to Catholicism? And the way that I'm doing that is the same way that Paul just showed Peter's inconsistency. I'm showing their inconsistency. Why? I'm trying to bring them to the truth. Now, don't say to me, don't say, Caleb, you're being so ugly. they probably won't ever be coming to the truth. No, the fact that they won't let me spend more than 40 seconds in there, when I come in like this, I'm just holding my phone in my hand. You can't even see my phone on the screen. I come in like this, and they get mad. Don't tell me it's on my fault because they are cowardly. Now, I'm saying they're ladies. I don't expect them to answer me, but I'm saying let me have access to the priest who you think can answer me. Romans chapter 11, look at what he says. Look at verse number 14. He says, if by any means I may provoke them to emulation, them which are of my flesh, and might save some of them. Provoke to emulation, how? Jealousy, that's what he's talking about. I speak to the Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of Gentiles, I magnify my office. Look at verse 15. For if the casting away be the reconciling of the world, what shall be the receiving them, but be life from the dead? He's saying, if the Jews get cast away so that the Gentiles get to be brought in, now I'm going to show the Jews. This whole time you've been calling yourself God's people, and now you're going to miss it because you don't like Gentiles? Showing the inconsistency, trying to make them jealous. That's what we're doing with the Catholic Church tonight. Now look at this. We come in, they kick us out. He already said we were very nice. But now look at this.
Well, I just wanted to know why it was such a problem that I did record my conversation with Mark White.
You're trespassing, so you need to leave.
Okay, so you're not going to say why it was a problem?
You already know why it's a
I
problem.
don't understand.
Bye.
I'm saying, like, what is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why.
What is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why.
What is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why. You know why. You know why. You know why. You know why.
What is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why.
Now, this is Miss Pat, the bookkeeper, telling me that you're trespassing. No, I'm not. By code law, I'm not trespassing. Y'all do not have a restraining order on me. You took what out on Johnny, who has not even been there, and that does not then get to say we restrain the entire Martinsville Church of Christ. Now, listen, they just call, trespassing, and they say all this stuff. Listen to this.
Say that again? Your lawyer has something to say about me recording you?
Please don't record
I'm
me
recording you
without
right now, and you can't sue me for it.
So they come out and they say, well, somebody's lawyer husband has something to say to you. Both counts. No, he doesn't. Whether it's recording or whether it's trespassing, I'm coming to an open Catholic mass, and I've already been said by a member to be very friendly, saying hello to everybody, not causing a disruption. I just simply had a phone. But let me talk to you about a lawyer. You know what a lawyer does when he gets you ready for the case? Use language. Use your language. Be careful. They're going to try to trap you. They're going to try to ensnare you. And a lawyer, I'm saying if somebody up in here is married to a lawyer, they should teach them to use better language. Now, this is what I mean. Think about the Catholic Church. What have you heard in the last 14 years about the Catholic Church? Now, you think about it. What has been going on with the Catholic Church? And why would he say that and then talk about using clear language?
Well, I just wanted to know why it was such a problem that I did record my conversation with Mark White.
You're trespassing, so you need to leave.
Okay, so you're not going to say why it was a problem?
You already know why it's a
I
problem.
don't understand.
Bye.
I'm saying, like, what is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why.
What is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why.
What is the secret that's being kept here?
You know why. You know why. You know why. You know why. You know why.
Now, if I say to a Catholic, why do you not want me to record y'all? And what secrets are being kept here? And all you say back to me is, you know why. Listen, that can only let my imagination run wild. You know why. No, I don't know why. People always talk to us and they talk about, well, down at your church, and we say, we don't have a church. And they start saying, well, you know what I mean. No, friend, I only know what you said. You want me to hear what you're saying, and now I got to interpret your meaning on these things? I don't speak all y'all's colloquialisms. I don't have a church. I belong to the Church of Christ. I'm a Christian, but I haven't bought any church. Now, your pastor may have a man-made church, and that's fine, good for him. It's false. But when she says to me, you know why? No, I don't know why. Honestly, let me take a minute. Tonight, I brought with me, this is my big, thick Catholic dictionary. And when I just simply look up priest towards the back of the book, it tells me very clear that the priest is the go-between between God and man. Now, if I look up the Pope, it's going to be even clearer about how much authority the Pope has. You can find Catholic doctrine in a Catholic dictionary by Addis and Arnold's Catholic Dictionary. But then, let me recommend some books to you. Catholicism Against Itself, Volume 1 by O.C. Lambert. Catholicism Against Itself, Volume 2 by O.C. Lambert. But I have been paying attention to pop culture, if we could call it that. I don't know really what to call it. Current events, let's call it that. And when a Catholic says to me, the reason we don't want you talking to our priest and the reason that we don't want you to have a recording device makes me think of one thing. Spotlight. Come on, y'all. We're at halfway. Can we put up our phone lines, please, Mr. Producer? What else would I think about when somebody says, you already know? No, I don't know. I'm just confused beyond belief as to why women are playing gatekeeper for a grown man, a Catholic priest. No, he's not. We're going to let you talk to him. We're not going to put him in that type of situation. For what? To have dialogue? Look at what this little cartoon says. Leave the unborn children alone. Do you know what Spotlight is? Spotlight is where the Boston Globe. Spotlight is a column piece in the Boston Globe, and they uncovered all manner of pedophilia going on with Catholic priests in the Catholic Church. So when I say I don't understand and what is the secret here, and you say you know, what else can I think about? Why did Mark White leave town? Now, don't take this and say Caleb's saying that Mark White was a pedophile. No, I'm saying they won't answer why. They won't tell us why he left. But then when I go and say, what's the secret? And they say, you know. Now look at what it says. Leave the unborn children alone. It is so graphic. I watched the movie Spotlight, and I still watched it with a clear play filtering system, so there's no telling what I missed. But if you read the Boston Globe articles, man, it is unreal, the stuff that is just displayed in there. You get 5 articles for free. When you go on bostonglobe.com, they'll let you read 5 full articles for free. Go on now after the show and read 5 of their articles about what the Catholics did to these little children, how they targeted the underclass children because they knew they wouldn't have the supervision, and they knew that their moms would like to have a grown-up take their kids out. Listen, I've picked up kids for church for Bible class. I know the parents love it when you pick up their kids for Bible class. You know why? Because they get the day off. I've taken 2 little boys home at like 12:30 after we got them lunch, take them home, and mama's just getting out of the bed, man. I'm taking them to Bible class so they can learn, and I'm giving mama some extra sleep time. These people were unsuspecting of the priests molesting their children. But when you say to me, you know what the secret is, I don't know. And I'm telling you tonight, those prayer beads better be going. Why? Y'all in the spotlight. You don't want anybody coming around with a recording device? Leave your phone in your car, friends, because they got secrets in St. Joseph Catholic Church. Romans chapter 1, verse 27. Now, do you remember what? I got to show this to you. You probably don't. We only listened to it once. Listen to what he says.
But no, I mean, if you come to me and say, there's teachings about where there's apparently no relationship between commitment to Christ and the way you live your life. I mean, that is scandalous and keeps people away from the faith. I can see why you would say that. I could hardly disagree with you.
Things that are scandalous will deter people from the faith. Now, what's scandalous is the fact that Jessica Robinson said that her husband could fornicate and keep the Holy Ghost while fornicating with someone who's not his wife. Why would God keep allowing Rob to speak in tongues and do miracles while he's cheating on his wife? I have said before, I'm saying it again, if Jessica will just come out and say that that was wrong, that Rob did not get to keep the Holy Ghost while he was fornicating, I will not talk about that again. I don't like bringing up the fornication, but I have to show the error that she said by saying he got to keep the Holy Ghost. That's ridiculous. He doesn't have it to begin with. He can't speak in tongues. He can't do any miracles. But now listen to what he said. Things that are, what was the word he used?
Relationship between commitment to Christ and the way you live your life. I mean, that is scandalous.
Okay, scandalous. He said that deters people from the truth. Well, the Catholic Church is not the truth, but look at Romans 1:27. The men, leaving the natural use of the women, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. Now tonight, listen to what this man says. Geoghegan preferred preying on poorer children. This is the Boston Globe. There's a crisis. The Reverend Brian M. Flatley, an official, told Mr. Edward Messenger. Now look at what he says. A priest had admitted abusing minors in the past and has been acting out again recently. Police and the district attorney are involved. Now you keep reading this. Look at this paragraph here. 6 hours later. 6 hours later, Reverend John Geoghegan and Messenger began regular therapy sessions in which Geoghegan admitted to being drawn by affection and intimacy with boys. As an MGH psychologist wrote, pointed out that his misconduct occurred during a time of sexual exploration for this country. Now, where are we? This all happened in 2002. We're still sexually exploring. Now look at where sexual exploration led for them. Poor boys. His stuff happened during a sexual exploring. I got in the car yesterday, went down to the track, and what did they say on the radio? Some guy was arrested for having sex with a horse in a barn. What do you think? No, duh. Everybody's talking about, well, express yourself. We don't want to demise their creativity. Man, when your creativity starts messing with my horse or poor children, they need to be put under the jail. Skip all this business. Now keep listening to it. It's ridiculous. The children were just so affectionate, and I got caught up in their acts of affection. Children from middle-class families never acted like that towards me, so I never got so confused. Grown men, and guess what? They're saying things that are of this nature, they repulse people from the truth. That's why we're trying to expose it. But you know what's worse? So what if these men molested little boys? If you're once saved, always saved. If I can commit any sin that I want to and still go to heaven, then why can't these priests molest little boys? See, things that were unnatural, and we can't get the priests at St. Joseph to talk to us. But here's the thing. Some of y'all may be watching tonight and saying, oh, this is ridiculous. I can't believe the priest won't talk to them, especially with all this in the atmosphere. Your preacher won't talk to us either. What's he hiding? How many denominational preachers in this area have been caught with different women besides their wife? Think about it. How many of them have gotten into trouble? We already mentioned Rob, Tim Whiteheart. We could keep going. And then not only that, you all know all they're worried about is the money. You read these spotlight articles, people in the Catholic Church, they knew what was going on. Look at this. Here's another cartoon. Forgive me, sinners, that I have fathered. Now, this isn't a joke, but you see exactly what they're saying. In Matthew chapter 23, verse 15, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, ye make him twofold more child of hell than yourselves. One man comes out, and he tells how he was molested, and guess what? He's a little boy. He's molested by the Catholic Church, and because of his confusion, because of the scarring that it left him, he then, for a big portion of his adult life, is heavily depressed, drinking, and on drugs. Twofold more child of hell than yourselves. You've got these ungodly priests who do not teach the truth. Then they prey on these young kids, and this is what they do to them. What is the secret? Since the mid-1990s, more than 130 people have come forward with horrific childhood tales about how former priest John J. Geoghegan allegedly fondled or raped them during a 3-decade spree through half a dozen greater Boston parishes. Almost always, his victims were grammar school boys. One was just 4 years old. And you know what happened to a lot of these people when they were exposed? When other Catholic members found out, or other priests or some other official in the Catholic Church, they just got sent away. They were on sick leave. They had another opportunity open up, and they just disappeared. Now, I'm just asking the question, where did Mark White go? Why are we under such scrutiny for bringing a cell phone into Catholic Mass? Now, I went there today at 12:10 in the afternoon, and I was going to sit through the end of Mass, and they didn't even have Mass. No, Mass is canceled today because Nicholas Mammy isn't here. How do you get to just cancel Mass? I'm saying the Catholics used to be so strict, used to be so hard-pressed, and now look at where they are. And this is why they don't want to talk to me. They don't want any more publicity. I think that the Catholics would basically say, well, we'd like to just shrivel up and die right about now. After Spotlight, we certainly don't need anybody coming in talking about our doctrine. Least of all things is our doctrine. Why? Because they don't have it together. You get all these pictures, 5 little boys. It's not just 5 little boys. It is 130 people that have come forward. The article was reported by the Globe Spotlight team. Under an extraordinary cloak of secrecy, the Archdiocese of Boston in the last 10 years has quietly settled child molestation claims against at least 70 priests, according to an investigation by the Globe Spotlight team. Now, let me ask you this. Do you like Spotlight? Do you like that they did that? Do you like that they did the research? Do you like that they actually went through all the trouble to have some of these documents unsealed so that the public could find them? Man, my hat is off to these people for doing the research, to going through just I'm saying, it was disgusting for them to see all this, and they were trying to get these guys. But here's the thing. I hate it for the little kids. I hope that they can find some way to either repress or just find some way to move forward from that. But I've got to tell you, raping children and teaching false doctrine, they're going to end up in the same place. They are equally doing evil. The priests are damaging the bodies of the young children. But every denominational preacher is damaging the soul of everybody in their congregation. Now, members of the Church of Christ, you listen to this. Damning someone's soul to hell is worse than raping a child. Now, you get all up in arms about priests that rape children. Over 70 priests raped over 130 children. And you could get, oh man, your blood will boil. But you hear somebody talk about grace alone, and you just blow it off. And here's what you say to yourself. That's not my responsibility. And you say, well, who am I to say this? Listen, who am I? I'm just low town, Martinsville, Virginia, hardly educated, and I just read the Bible and I tell it like it is. Now, you can do the exact same thing, but I'm saying our brethren are so cowardly and beat down by the denominational world. Don't you know you're beat down? The world has gotten you with all this stuff. I'm saying this to you now. Church of Christ, if you're a Christian, Matthew 7, they hit you with this, judge not, that be not judged. I'm going to say at least 70% of our brethren are so ignorant they don't know how to answer this. James, would you agree with that? 70%? It's way up there, isn't it? How you answer Matthew 7? You read 4 more verses and you put it back on them. How wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clear to cast out the mote of thy brother's eyes, and then you do it. Clear yourself, and then you do it. But I'm saying you're so scared, you're so timid, and want to just ball up because they're going to do something to you. I had somebody say to me, I'm just sick of being the bad guy. Listen, in my mind, everybody hates me. Now tell me about being the bad guy. I'm saying even my own friends and brethren don't really like me. And you're talking about, I don't like being the bad guy. It's just so hard. Read your Bible. We have not come to a hardship like they had. I've never been shipwrecked. I've never been beaten across my back. I have never had to live in a cave like the prophets did during the reign of Ahab and Jezebel. I've never had to have a diet of just bread and water that was snuck into me by a man wanting to feed the prophets. And you whine and you complain about, well, the world and people just don't want to hear it and you're not going to change anybody. You'll burn in hell with that attitude. Now tonight, I don't want to just get on the Catholics. I'm saying we all need to check ourselves. I need to check myself. I have to examine myself all the time. I've got my own problems. I've got my own selfish ways that I have to examine. First, cast out the beam out of thine own eye. And in the Church of Christ, we basically talk about, well, why can't we see people be converted? Because you're not offering them anything different. When you get on all this stuff about, come visit with us, come down here at 11 o'clock in the morning and stay after 12, we'll feed you lunch, we'll feed you, we won't send you away with an empty belly, we're going to have a good meal, da-da-da. Look, am I coming for a potluck, or am I coming to actually have some education? And John chapter 6, verse 22, the day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boat there, say that one whereunto the disciples were entered, then Jesus went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone alone, away alone. Howbeit there came other boats from Tiberias nigh unto the place where they did eat bread, that after the Lord had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Jesus was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum seeking Jesus. And when they had found him on the other side, they said unto him, Rabbi, when camest thou hither? And Jesus answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat the loaves and were filled. Now, brethren, this is what I'm saying. If your preacher, brethren, is saying, we need to have a meal, we need to have a weenie roast, we need to have a fish fry, you need to fire that dude. Get him out of there. Why? Because he's lazy. He's not reaching the people. You do not get people in with the gospel. You get them in, or with weenie roast and fish fries, you get them in with the gospel. And Jesus flat out told the people, you're not coming after me because of the truth, because of what's good and pure. You simply want to be fed. Now, why is that our main criteria? Think about it. Now, I think that it's in the book of Mark where the people, this is what I'm saying. I'll feed somebody when they spend 3 days in Bible study with me. Look at the book of Mark, verse 2. I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. I'm saying when you come spend 3 days straight with us in Bible study, we will be more than happy to get you some hot dogs or fish fry. But if you're just coming in and that's how we're enticing you, I'd rather you just stay home, honestly. And so would Jesus. Tonight, friends, why do we say all these things? Because we just want to be consistent. We're wanting to be biblical. I'm sure we've got a caller who always says, you guys never preach the gospel. I'm sure he hated this show. That's fine. If you hated this show tonight, think about this. The Archdiocese of Boston is preparing to take the extraordinary step of filing for bankruptcy as hopes for fade of a settlement with an estimated 450 alleged victims of clergy sexual abuse, according to the senior church official and 2 sources close to the Archdiocese. Over 70 priests, and then it says 450 alleged victims of the clergy. Now let me talk to you. If you don't like this show, tough. You're probably a wimp. You're probably battling with yourself because you've got a responsibility that you're not fulfilling. In Acts chapter 28, verse 22, it says, But we desire to hear of thee what thou thinkest, for as concerning this sect, we know that everywhere it is spoken against. I don't care right now if the Catholic Church is rubbing them prayer beads thinking how awful this program is. Look, you could have let me talk to the priest. We could have had our conversation. I have clips where I'm very nice with them. I press my point, but I'm very nice with them. I'm not jumping over the table. I'm not slapping heads. I'm not throwing books around. And I don't have a whole bunch of big old recording equipment. So I'm saying, Acts 28, verse 22, the church was spoken against everywhere. People in your area don't even know who the Church of Christ is. Well, what are they, like an offshoot of the Baptists or something? Huh? Church of the Brethren? Listen, people are not doing their jobs as evangelists. And it's not just a one-man show in the congregation. If you look at Acts chapter 8, everybody went everywhere preaching the gospel. Therefore, they that were scattered abroad went everywhere preaching the word. Now, here's the question. Who are you teaching? Would you be willing to talk to the Catholics like I did today? Why can I not talk to your priest? I'm not calling him Father. I'm not calling him Reverend in the pulpit and in the Bible. Romans chapter 16. Look at this. He's writing to Rome, the Vatican. I commend unto you Phoebe, our sister, which is a servant of the church which is at Cenchrea, that you receive her in the Lord as becometh saints. Now look at this. Greet Priscilla and Aquila. Then there's Epaphras, Mary, Andronicus, Junia, Amplius, Urbane. Look at all these names in here. And guess what? People always say Peter was the first pope. And guess where the pope is? He's in Rome with the Vatican. Why did Paul not even address Peter when he wrote to the church at Rome? Say hello to Peter for me. No, because Peter wasn't the first pope. There's no popes in the Bible. See how this goes? They just make stuff up. We're saying if you don't like this program tonight, I'm sorry. I hope that you will see the truth in these matters. I'm saying I'm presenting books to you tonight that you need to get. Catholicism Against Itself by O.C. Lambert. Get you a Catholic dictionary to see what they're saying on these things. Acts 24:5, they said Paul was a pest. That's why St. Joseph Catholic Church got a restraining order against Johnny Robertson, because they said, I'm a pest. Now, they got on the wrong person with their lawyer husband. They don't even know how to get a restraining order. How are they going to get you to heaven? If you don't like this show, my brethren, you need to get these books. This is the history of the Presbyterian Church in the state of Kentucky. And in my copy, if you look at page 215, you'll see this note. In less than 20 years, the number of 150,000 members and upwards. What? That's what the church was growing to. Alexander Campbell was going in, teaching these people, debating with different people, and they were leaving their denominations. People were leaving the Baptist church, they were leaving the Presbyterian churches, and look at what it says down at the bottom of the screen. Mr. Campbell's forte is controversy. He has been a man of war from his youth. They were saying, give us the Bible only, no man-made denominations, and they were leaving it. History of the Presbyterian churches in the state of Kentucky. Get you another little book where you can read about things of this nature. Campbell and Controversy, the debates of Alexander Campbell, Bill J. Humble. Now, I've already done a show where I'm saying we're not Campbellites. We don't abide Campbellite doctrine, but I'm saying you cannot bat back the fact that this man was turning the world upside down. And how'd he do it? He's a man of controversy. He's been a man of war from his youth. Do you have questions about the Catholic Church? What about the fact that Peter had a mother-in-law? Pope can't be married. Look at Matthew chapter 14. We already talked about 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and the Eucharist. Matthew 23:9, you don't call any man on this earth your father. That's not talking about your daddy. That's talking about your religious pastor figures, things of that nature. Why didn't he salute Peter in Romans chapter 16? Who is the rock in Matthew chapter 16? If you've got questions about the Catholic Church, why don't you call St. Joseph and ask them why Mark White isn't there? Ask them why they won't let us talk to Nicholas Mammy. Just have a public discussion. My phone number is 276-806-3641. Micah is 434-429-5221. If you have any questions, contact us. We'll study the Bible with you. But really, the most important question you need to be asking is, what does the Bible say? And why won't the priest over at St. Joseph Catholic Church tell us about it? Friends, don't trust me. Don't trust James, who's coming on afterwards. Trust the Bible. Always ask for, what does the Bible say? And you're going to get a word from the Lord. Thank you. Good night.
Views expressed on this program